everybody. On today's episode of Madge Unmuted, we will talk about catfishing. No, not the food and po' boys in Louisiana. We're going to talk about good old-fashioned internet catfishing of what happened to me way too many times. Yeah. Blub, 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 blub. Come on in. The water's fine, and there's plenty of catfish.
And they bite.
Today's... They do hard. On today's episode of Madge Unmuted, come on in, the water's fine. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Madge Unmuted. I am your hostess, Madge Madigan. Welcome. First thing you got to do is subscribe while you're here, okay? Hold the phone. Take care of that business.
Freaking bossy.
And now with me, as always, we have my lovely and talented producer, Fitz.
Hi, lovely. Hi, how are you?
Lovey.
So good to be here again.
So good to have you. And also with us again is the lovely and talented Chris Marcotte.
Hey! You sound like Thurston Howell, sort of, a little bit. Lovey.
Yay.
Lovey.
How's everybody doing?
We're awesome.
We're really good now.
We're awesome. We're so much better now that we get to see your beautiful face.
We've just had a time before this. We had a few takes. And I was starting to get cranky. So now
That never happens.
I got to get back on track. So you know what we're going to talk about this week? It's kind of like part 2 of last week. We were talking about 90 Day Fiancé, right?
Yes. Which was amazing.
Amazing. Good or amazing?
Yeah, because I didn't know all that stuff was happening.
Oh,
yeah. I feel like you prompted me to find out what was happening next.
It's so ridiculous. So anyway, that prompted me to think about my adventures in online dating, because that's what the premise of this is that people are meeting people online from across the globe and they start dating. Yeah. And so which prompted me, I haven't been online dating in
2 weeks.
9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been in a relationship for 9 years.
That's crazy.
Have you?
Yeah,
Has it really been 9 years?
Yeah.
Does he know?
In October.
Does he know?
I'm not sure. I think it's maybe finally starting to sink in that we're in a relationship.
Who's this chick that keeps showing up? Oh, gee.
But I first got divorced in 2001.
Gee.
And
when you were 12.
I had moved. Yeah. And I had moved to Denver with my, at the time, husband in the year 2000. And we were already in the rocks. I knew it was kind of, I thought it wasn't, I didn't know what was going to happen. So anyway, we moved out there. I didn't know a soul. And I have 3 little kids under the age of 7. And he is still carrying on with a coworker. So like that kind of put a chink in the armor of our marriage trying to work on things.
Yeah.
So, we called it a day. So I, within 6 months, started online dating, which was brand new.
I was going to say, that had to have been right at the beginning. 2000, or I think it was 2001.
Yeah, that was really at the.
It was the very end of 2001.
There weren't even hardly computers.
How this will tell you how long ago it was. One of the very first things I used was Yahoo Personals.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So because I had the kids 5-6 days a week. They were all under the age of 7. 3 kids under the age of 7. So, Abigail was just 18 months too. I don't know. I didn't want her, she wasn't really up for going away to dad's to his apartment across town. So anyway, So I'm like, where am I meeting people? Okay, I got to meet online. Oh, good Lord. So this is what I'm going to tell you about this week is catfishing and all the times I have been catfished. So I'm guessing everybody by now knows what catfishing is.
For those of us who don't.
Right.
Yeah. Tell us what it is.
It is when somebody is playing you online. Like they are talking to you under the guise of being somebody else. So the person you think you're talking to isn't real. You know, you could be
She's not a Playboy bunny? Come on.
Right.
It's a
Right.
500-pound guy in the basement.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and guys used to tell me stories all the time about women. Oh, they would have, you know, pictures that were 10 years old and 50 pounds ago
Yep.
and blah, blah, blah. Some of these cases on this show ended up being catfish.
On the show.
Yeah. And I feel those are the worst because some of those people went like, one guy went to like Brazil or something. And the girl like kept playing him all the way even till he got down there. Oh, and then she doesn't show up at the airport or whatever.
So he never met her, or he did?
No.
Oh.
He never met her, but like there's so many things now.
What's the point,
how
though?
you can
Like, what was it? Did they get money out of this person, or is it just for kicks?
that one, I think a lot of the times it's for money.
Sure.
I never had it happen for money because, like, I didn't have any. I was a broke single mom. And yeah, and so I think mine sometimes were trying to get cyber sex out of me, which that happens a lot
Digital
with
hand job?
women.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know how that works, but
I don't know, but you could get electrocuted.
it's just like ones and zeros back and forth really fast.
Oh, my gosh.
So, or they like, in my case, I did end up meeting them, but I think it was just like, I don't know. It was to lure me in, to get me to meet them. And I did. And then they weren't anything like what they told me they were or look like anything that they look like. And I'm thinking, what did you think was going to happen?
I know, like, I'm just going to be like, oh, well, you know, doesn't matter how he looks. And he lied to me.
Right. And it doesn't matter that he lies. And he has such a great personality. I think I'll stay.
Yeah. You know, that's so I have experience with this, but it wasn't.
I was going to ask you if either of you have done online dating. It
wasn't. So by the end of 2001, I was already with Kelly, who's now my wife. So.
Does she know?
She
you guys did it to me. I mean, does she know now?
Yeah,
maybe.
It's hard to say. She might have forgotten. Back then, I used to do, this was in the mid to late 90s, I used to do something that was called the Quest line. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh,
DJ, please.
Right? It was a phone number. It was like a party line. It was a phone number. It was free for women.
God.
The women, you know, they sign on and they say, and they have like a profile, and you can hear their profile. And then if you want to connect with them,
I bet they were all real.
They were all real.
Sorry, go ahead.
They were not really what they said, but so yeah, the guys would you'd have to give them a credit card number, and you would buy X amount of credits, which would allow you to send messages to these women or to do a live connection to where you're talking. And I did that. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it at all.
And that's where you met Kelly, right?
That is not where I met Kelly. No, this is better. I met her at a bar.
Oh. That's where everybody should meet. That's where people should meet.
That's right.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I met plenty of guys in bars that weren't what they said they were.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Nowadays, you know, you can lie about anything. So anyway,
but at least you see their face right then and there instead of
yeah. So that was the big thing. There were like these women I'm talking to, and we're hitting it off. Like, she's funny, she's smart, she's into all the things I'm into, and I feel really bad because I feel kind of like superficial about this, but there were times where I think it was every time. Yeah, no, it was every time. Every time that I finally got to the point where we're going to meet up, and when I meet them, they, the way they describe themselves is completely different than what they said.
Yeah.
It's just completely, and it pissed me off because I didn't want to, it was hard for me to reconcile the idea that I'm a superficial jerk and that I don't want to go out with a fat chick. Like, that's what it came down to. And it came down to that. And I was like, I really liked talking to you. I really did. But I'm just not physically attracted to you. So I can't.
But you also lied. So
yeah,
if your whole thing is lying.
Yeah.
I'm curvy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't say how big the curves were. But I just felt it made me feel terrible.
Tell me that around the curve was a wide load.
There's another curve.
No, that's terrible. I mean, what's funny? I used to get that I look much better than my pictures. Once I would meet in person, they would be like, "You look much better in person."
So they were happy. They were like, "Wow, brown chicken, brown cow." But then you looked at them and you're like, No, thanks.
Yeah. So you know what though, and I wonder how, if any of our listeners, if you're of this age, if anybody ever did, I guess precursor to that also was, or maybe this is in between, Craigslist.
Oh.
Actually, I know a couple people.
They had a personal section.
Few people that had done, that used to do.
Oh my gosh.
Craigslist, the personals.
Do you remember the missed connections on Craigslist?
Oh, yes. Right. Yes.
They're
and I used to read those.
They are
I used to read them because I'm like, these cannot be real.
Yeah.
Some of them, but also some of them were so vague. You were on Culver Road at 3 p.m. and you had
who
brown
was in
hair.
Craigslist once with a missed connection?
You?
Yeah. I was reading through them and I'm like, they're talking about me. They were talking about me. It was somebody at the PUB. Yes. And they misconnectioned me, and I was like, oh my God. Isn't that the craziest thing? Because you're like, wait a second.
Did you connect?
I was wearing that, and I was,
yeah,
and then
really?
I realized who it was, and I was like, because you remember, like, oh, there was a person there, and they were like, You're reading through it, and you're like, let's see, blue eyes. I had that on. I was there at that time.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's the craziest thing to realize they're talking about you.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, psychopath. No.
Probably know him.
So I flagged it. Like, no. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's it's like a weird feeling.
Even before that, then, was the classifieds.
Oh. Desperately seeking Susan.
If you like pina colada.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun. That song really bothers me.
That song bothers me too. And it's all
cheating on each other, and they found,
and they're like, oh, my lady. Yeah, like, okay, whatever.
Oh, look at us.
It was my own lovely lady. Yeah. Okay,
you scoundrel,
Yes, you rapscallion.
You're both a piece of shit.
I was like, yeah, that sounds terrible. And that, it's you.
It does.
Yeah, it's you.
So, Desperately Seeking Susan. Well, that was more of a missed connection, wasn't it?
But I think that was in an ad. That was like an ad in the paper, right? Desperately Seeking.
Yeah, it was a classified.
Classified ad, yeah.
So, I don't know if anybody ever, did that. If anybody ever has, leave in the comments. But you know what? I used to read that I loved reading the personals when I was in college and shortly after. So this was in the early and mid 80s. I used to have a subscription to the Village Voice.
Oh, wow.
in New York City.
You're cool.
So it was a weekly.
Oh,
Yeah,
Greenwich
I
Village,
was.
is that what it was?
Yeah.
Is that what that was? Yeah.
And
I'm not familiar
yeah,
with it.
And so it started out, it was really kind of, offbeat alternative. And
Letters to the Editor by Andy Warhol.
And so, and that also, I had a subscription to Interview magazine when Andy Warhol was alive. And so, I was like super hipster. And, but I was like in love with New York City. And back then there wasn't an internet. So to stay connected to new music, new things, what's going on.
Was that like a weekly? The Village Voice, was that like a weekly publication?
Village Voice was a weekly,
yeah.
And Interview was a monthly.
Yeah.
So,
but you knew when the concerts were, where the local bands were, probably, right? Is that what it was? Like, stay in touch.
Yeah.
What did we used to have in Rochester here? We had something.
Free time.
Free time.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking it was like. Only, yeah. And that's where you used to be like, oh, I wonder what band is where and what's happening.
Right, right. And down there, you could... but I used to go there when I was at home once in a while, and so kind of had many purposes. But the Personals in the Village Voice,
right?
Oh my God, that was an eye opener, because down there it was all looking for threesomes and male, female, male,
and that
whatever.
was at the time. That was like really
risque,
right?
I bet it was.
And not to mention, like they had an entire just gay section, and was that where? Wait, where did Backpage start? Was Backpage from that, or was it?
I don't know, but I know it was an internet thing. But I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if that started from a magazine or not. I
don't remember, but anyway.
Talking. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. So there was
Our
a
crack research team
section, and then that was just like, eye opening to me, but also very, like, I had already had a whole bunch of gay friends, so I was just like, oh my.
Oh, look what's going on.
Here was the other thing too.
What is it? Give us the update.
Yeah, so you're talking about Backpage. Backpage was actually launched by the Village Voice in 2004.
See, I knew.
Also known as New Times Media. Now, the New Times was a similar type of magazine, newspaper that we got in Miami. It was the same kind of thing, so it was all the same company. Interesting.
See, I knew there was some sort of connection.
Yeah.
Like Chuck Woolery.
But so
different, totally different times.
Yeah,
because there was no internet, so that was the only way to do it, right? Yeah.
Right.
To connect with people.
So, and you got a PO box and all that. So I don't know if anybody ever did that. So anyway, moving up to early 2000s. So here's me. I had, like every Wednesday, I had an hour, a window of like 3 or 4 hours. It was like 5 to 8 or 5 to 9. I think it's 5 to 8. And that was like, oh my God, I got to fit in. I got to find a date for this week. Like, I wanted to line up a date every week because I was so starved for attention and affection, because my ex-husband was not very nice. He, like, as I mentioned before, he was an alcoholic, and he was most of the time very mean to me. I was not attractive. I was cold. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I was a bitch. I was, everything. So it's like I hadn't had anybody be nice to me in so long. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll find somebody who will be nice to me. And so I started doing...
Which, don't you think that's what drives people to that sort of thing? I mean, not only are they not meeting, especially now, they're not meeting people in person because they don't go out as much and whatnot. But, you're like, where do I go to meet someone? Church or...
Exactly. Excuse me. I mean, that's the social landscape has completely changed. I mean, before you could meet people in church or the grocery store or whatever, but
people do everything from home now. So You know, you order your groceries, you have Amazon come, you don't. There's the social gatherings, and the bar scene even, I'm sure, is really taking a hit.
Yeah,
you know, people don't go out as much.
Excuse me. Yeah, and so I get on there, and one of the first ones I did was Yahoo Personals, and then the other was OkCupid.
Oh, I remember hearing that.
And I'm trying to remember. Do you guys remember about what point in time did cell phones start being able to take pictures?
Late.
You gonna Google that
2008, 2000.
Oh, really? Not till then? Wow.
That late?
Well, they were. You could take them, but they weren't that great.
And you probably
they were shitty little
you probably
pictures.
couldn't send them.
We had so I'll go. Oh no, 2000. In 2001,
cameras that could upload.
Yeah, we were. I'm just thinking about when Kelly and I, when I was in Florida and she was in Rochester, and we had these little digital cameras that we were sending like pictures and videos back. No,
exactly. You were sexting each other.
But I think it was shortly after that, maybe 2002 or 3, because that's when my son was born, 2003, and we started being able to take pictures with our flip phones. I mean, it was probably around before that, but we weren't cool enough to have that phone because it was probably, one of the advanced ones for the rich dudes.
Yeah. So I remember back then you had, the cameras, and then you could upload the pictures if you had the software that came with it. You could upload it and whatever, and so you could upload pictures, but not everybody, most everybody still had a desktop with a tower, and laptops I don't think they didn't have cameras yet in them. They didn't have webcam. You had to buy a webcam separately. Do you remember the ones they used to hook or sit on top of your computer? So, it wasn't like everybody had pictures. And also not like now, you can just pick up your phone, take a picture, FaceTime, whatever, and then it was like somebody could take a picture of, you could take a picture of a picture of
a picture.
What do you call it? Yeah. Like a little camera, or a little photograph, and take a picture of it and, upload that. So the first time I got fooled, well, it wasn't so much fooled, I went out with this guy, and he was really good looking. He was really nice. He was, kind of preppy. I think he was an architect. He worked in some high rise in Denver. I was living in Denver, and, everything seemed great. And except he was a little elusive sometimes. It was like, oh, sorry, I didn't get back to you, I was working late, and because we went out several times, and he even invited me to stop by his office one time. So I went to his office, and then one day I get a phone call, and they're like, do you know, I think his name was Colin.
Oh, jeez.
And they're like, and it was a woman.
No.
And she's like, do you know Colin? And I'm like, yeah. And I wasn't sure. I was naive, as I think everybody was back then. This shit was all brand new. And she's like, well, he's my boyfriend, and we've been living together, and blah, blah, blah. And I think he's your Bettina. I'm like, what? I'm like, I am so sorry. And I was really thrown off because my ex-husband had cheated on me. So I was like,
that's not what you're going to do.
And you're like, I was
fresh on this I hate men that cheat, which I've since grown out of, because shit happens, and like pretty much everybody I've known had done something. So it's like shit happens. So anyway, so she was like heartbroken, and I was like, I'm really sorry. And then she wanted to ask me all these questions. Did you do this? Did you do that?
Geez.
Did you, did you? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And I don't want to lose my number, have him lose my number. I don't remember if you could block back then or whatever, but yeah. So I just got rid of that one. And she tried to call me a few more times, and I was like, nope, nope, not getting involved in that. So that was the first one.
So that worked out well.
Does he do this thing where he takes his thumb? Please say no. Please say no. Please
I
say
think
no.
she was probably going to go there at some point.
Right?
I'm like, I don't want to. So
at least she didn't invite you over.
And you met him on like OkCupid, or
actually he was OkCupid. Oh my God!
Was that before eHarmony? Wasn't eHarmony like one of the first ones?
That didn't come. No, Match was.
Oh,
Match came in maybe like
first?
2003, 2004.
Really?
Then
Wow.
eHarmony.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So because I eventually ended up joining Match, but so oh my God, there's so many.
Christian
this is
Mingle.
terrible.
yeah. FarmersOnly.com.
FarmersOnly.com.
Now I'm thinking there's so many times that I got fooled because I'll say it, I was a little desperate at times because I was a stay-at-home mom. I was home with the kids all the time, and so like the minute they would go to bed, I would be like on that computer. Yeah. Sometimes for hours, but my kids were in bed, and so I'd be making all these connections. And now thinking about it, some of them I would be like, oh, I really liked, and then they just were never available. And now I'm thinking, oh my God,
because they had 8 people going at once, probably, or a wife, or a
right. That was probably more like it, that they had a wife and they were just getting their jollies off, trying to get women to sext them or send nudes or whatever. And so then another one, these may be out of order. I keep popping up with so many that happened to me. This one was particularly embarrassing. So it was Yahoo Personals, and on that one you could have settings where if you were it tied in with Instant Messenger or Yahoo Messenger or whatever it was, and people could see when you were online. And it wasn't until later that they did the thing where you could turn yourself off, so if you had a personal up and you were online, then anybody could message you or request to message you or something. I don't remember. So this guy started messaging me, and then you could say, oh, this is my, what do you call it? Profile, take a look. Mind you, I was 35 at the time. And this guy started texting me. It was in the summer. And he's like, I'm 22. I'm a senior in college. I'm a baseball player. And he showed me all these pictures, and I was like, oh my God. But I'm like, he's really hot, though.
How could you not be? 22 baseball player.
And he pursued me, really. And I was like, oh, what the hell? Some of my girlfriends were like, yeah, just do it, whatever. So I meet this guy, and he was really, really cute. And I don't know, I think we went out to get something to eat. And then, I don't know, a couple other times we went, and I'm like, let's go out for a drink. And he'd be like, oh, no, let's meet here.
I'm not old enough to drink.
And we played Kissy Face a few times, or whatever. And he was like really into me. And I forget how it happened, but we went somewhere and we met to get something to eat. And I got a drink, and I'm like, how do you not drink? And he's like, oh, yeah, I do. And then I kept pressing him, and finally he's like, yeah, well, I'm only 19.
Oh, my gosh.
I was mortified.
And you were 35?
I was 35.
Come on, Madge.
It's not that big of a difference.
Come on, Madge. What's almost 20 years? Who cares?
It's only 20 years.
It's like, you just finished
Think
your
of the
freshman
stamina
year
of a 19-year-old
college.
Lad. Yeah, I know.
But you can't trust what anybody says.
Younger doesn't
basically
mean better. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, for the most part.
Jeez.
What were you going to say about?
Then nobody tells the
Sandals?
truth. So that's the other thing is it's like such a risk,
Right.
you know, because you're like,
Well,
they're like, yeah,
also-
I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever.
I'm
'Cause-
like, okay, you're only 19. You got to get the car home to mom. You got to get home for dinner. You got to go back to school. I mean, there's all that, but also you lied.
Yeah.
And
So like,
you don't know shit from Shinola in this world. You're so young. And it was just like, okay, obviously that was the other thing. I used to get hit on by young guys all the time because they wanted to, try a MILF.
oh,
I dated a lot
Like
of
I was a
older women.
novelty act. What?
I dated older
You-
women when I was in my 20s. I dated women that were in their upper 30s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it because they were, I got along better with them. They were more mature. They knew exactly what they wanted. They didn't fuck around and play games and bullshit,
Right. Well, there's that. Like my son, after college, I don't know when he's 30 now. I think when he was his mid to late 20s, he would date older. It was for that. However, with me, I would figure it out really quickly that it was just for a novelty sex thing. It wasn't like they weren't looking for a
well, yeah, they don't want to.
a
They don't want to have
relationship,
three
which-
kids.
Right. I was going to say,
Like-
here I am, with 3 kids under the age of 7. They were knocking down my door to get to me, So I want instant family with 3 kids.
I know,
Sure.
right? Because I'm going to go to
so yeah,
high school with your oldest.
Exactly. And I was also like 30 pounds lighter than I am now. So I was kind of
You're a
a
hottie.
MILF. I was,
Hottie
Say,
boom
you're a
I was-
hottie.
yeah.
You're a fucking
I
hottie.
was-
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I see
Own
if I
that
can
shit.
find a.
And
Own
they
it.
went back and told their buddies. They were like, I got this hottie boom Pilati on the line. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was so embarrassing. But that didn't stop me from
didn't-
getting scammed a couple more times.
Oh my gosh.
But because I was so, you didn't know back then. There wasn't all the shit that you know now. You know what I mean? There's red flags now that everybody knows. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think people just now. Would you trust anybody right off the bat like that? I think we're much more skeptical as a
Right,
society.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, we're just
Right,
like,
there's-
yeah, whatever, buddy. Yeah, we're not doing
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
right. So now, but then it was
But that
just
was an
like,
innocent time.
yeah. And so, I got like my lashes are sticking together. Anyway, so then, the next one was, this is a particularly entertaining one. So this was a couple years later. This is probably like 2004 or whatever. And I was on Match.com. And I was talking to this guy who was my age. And, okay, again, I'm like embarrassed. See, back then, too, I think now, like, people are, right on, as things progress, before you're going to meet, they want to talk on the phone to figure out
Sure.
if, you don't
yeah.
have like a Nigerian accent or, or a woman's voice or, whatever. And then, current picture or FaceTime or something. And, it's like going to nowadays how you can have a job interview, just FaceTime first.
Right.
So now I think there's just the first round will be a FaceTime.
Right.
So I'm talking to this guy and he looked very good looking. He said he was divorced. He was I think a couple, 5 years older than me, something like that. He had this story about, I'm so embarrassed to say this now because it just sounds like such bullshit, but he was living in Denver and we would talk about wines a lot. And this was back then too, there was a whole lot of emails back and forth first. And he told me that he was born in Italy. He was born in Italy, but he was orphaned at a young age. His parents died in a car accident. I know.
Oh my goodness.
And then this couple in Italy brought him up, and something about he's an owner in a vineyard over there. But he lived here now, and he was divorced, and he had kids, and da da da. So he didn't have an accent. He didn't claim to be. You know, he said he was in this country for many, many years, several decades. You know, and so I meet this guy, and he looked like his picture. He was a good-looking guy. He had Italian features. He was very charming. Oh, here was the thing. Sorry. I left this part out. So he said that he'd been in this country, but he had just moved to Denver and he didn't know anybody. And so, but he was, you know, he still had his vineyard and he would go back and forth, and he was this wealthy winery owner. So we get there and he orders drinks, and I ordered one, and I'm like not even a quarter way through mine, and he slams his and he orders another, and he orders another one for me too. I'm like, I didn't want that. And then he slams that and he gets another one. I'm like, well, boy. You know, obviously he's paying or whatever. I said, don't get me anymore. And it was a place where there was dancing, and he's like, come on, let's dance. And so we go out there, and everybody's like, hey.
Oh, they knew him.
They knew him. I forget what his name was.
Because he knows like, hey. Nobody, of course. So you're like...
Right. And they're like, hey. And then somebody mentioned something about, oh, are you not working at whatever anymore? And he's like, you know, and he's like, I was piecing this together, and they're like, hey, what's that? Like, he knew everybody in the place. And there were people that were very obviously coworkers and stuff. And then I would hear stuff that like, hey, what happened to you? We don't see you at work anymore or whatever. So then we get back to the table, and I'm like, so, like, honestly, is this your real name? Or like you said, like everybody knows you, and they're mentioning something about work. And he's like, yeah, well, he gets mad at me. And it turns out he's not Italian. There's no vineyard. He's from there. He was working at a place and he just got fired. He's out of a job. And he's like, and yeah, you know, he's got mad at me for like calling him on the carpet. Like, yeah, you don't trust anybody, and you're awful. Da, 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 da. And he slams whatever, and he gets out, and he gets up and he storms out.
And you're like,
and now you have to pay for all the drinks.
Leaves me with the bill.
Oh,
yeah. Wow. Oh, and he was drinking Maker's Mark.
Oh, geez, top shelf guy.
And he got me like, you know, I think at the time I used to drink like Sapphire and Tonic. He left me with the bill. There was like 6 drinks on it. And mind you, I was a stay-at-home mom with no job, and I just lived off child support. Back then, you know, it was probably a $40 bill, which now is probably like $100 bill or something.
Like, oh, boy.
But this motherfucker gets mad at me. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
You know.
Gaslight. Yeah.
He got caught. He's going to make me the bad. So that was a fun one.
No,
so the last one, and I don't know if I don't think I did it. When I moved back here, I didn't do much. I moved back here at the end of 2006, and I don't think I did much online dating, because you could go to divorce fields, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Northfields in Pittsford?
Yeah.
And it was like, for some reason, all of the like
that's where they
30
all were.
And over divorced people. It was very easy. It was like going to the supermarket. It was like the Wegmans of divorced people, single people. So the last one was this guy. Oh, my God. I just remembered another thing. Do you guys ever remember a thing called Hot or Not?
No.
It was...
Was it like on online?
Kind of a dating...
Isn't that what Facebook
online.
Started off as?
I think, but
it was the same kind of idea. It was
the same concept. Yeah.
So it's like thumbs up, thumbs down, or swipe right, swipe left sort of thing?
Yeah, like you put a picture up and, it's thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe rating or something, And then there was a component where you could contact the person if you were single or if you just wanted to be there to get your ego stroked or whatever. So, but anyway, that was one. And I think I saw this guy on there and then I saw him on another and he was really good looking.
Shocking.
And, what?
Shocking. Of course he's good looking. Yeah.
Oh, wait. A real quick one was another one where a guy, I met him. He was very nice and he was from like an hour away in the mountains and he came to meet me for a drink once and he was like, at the very least, 10 years older than what he had stated and what the picture he had. If not 15. The picture was old and he said that he was much younger than he was. And I'm like, you are not even close to whatever. And another one, he gets mad at me. I'm like, yeah, okay,
like,
see ya. So then this one, the guy is hot and he had a really quick wit. He was funny, whatever. And he didn't live there, but he like came in and out through town, one of those. So
just
he's like,
through.
Next time. Yeah.
Truck driver.
So,
right.
well,
Strangely
enough, we meet. Dude looks like he ate the dude of the picture that he had sent me, who that dude ate somebody else.
Oh my gosh. So handsome.
Like 4 times what he said.
Wow.
So then, yeah. So then, don't you know, we got appetizers and drinks, and then he's like, "Oh, my card's not working," and he gives me this. He's also touting himself as like a millionaire, and he's like, "Well, my card isn't working yet," and and I need whatever, and I go, "There's a machine over there," He was trying really hard to get me to pay for the bill. I was like, "Yeah, no," and so at the time I was a realtor, and so we started talking about real estate, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're really lovely," but he wanted to keep seeing me, and we kept talking, and he's talking about real estate, and he's like, "Hey, can you show me some homes?" And he's like, "I want to do this, I want to move here and do this or whatever," and he was looking at homes that were like $1 to $3 million.
Oh, jeez.
And I said, "Okay, can you show me proof of funds?" Which means, show me a bank account that you have it or whatever. He had a piece of paper. It looked like a bank statement or a whatever, some sort of financial statement. It had his name on it. So I'm like, okay, all right, then I'll show you homes. So then, I don't know, he comes in and out of town about 2-3 times, and I'm showing him stuff. I got to see some really expensive, cool homes in Denver. And finally, after a while, I'm like, you're not really who you say you are. And are you really looking for something? Because I started to dig a little further into the guy. And it was harder to find things back then because there were some like chat rooms and whatnot. So if you put somebody's name in, by then you could start coming and seeing what this guy's name was. I think he said his name was Ryan. And luckily it turns out that his name came up, and it was all these women that were in like chat rooms and like, "Yeah, don't trust this guy. He said this, this, and this. He came through town. I'm in Kansas. I'm in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
I'm in yeah." He had the whole, he was a truck driver.
Oh my God.
He was a big fat truck driver. And I said, "You aren't who you say you are." And
of course, then you're in trouble again, right?
It's like,
how dare you?
I know.
So we were in a house and a vacant house, and I got out of there really quickly. And because I could tell, I was starting to question. I could tell he was agitated. So I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And so we got out. I locked up and I said, look, it's obviously you're not who you say you are and you're not really doing this. So don't ever call me again. Don't ever email me. Oh, no, but you don't have faith in me and you're
right.
Oh, fuck you. Yeah, I'm the worst thing in the world. I'm like, okay, fine. So after that, I went home and I said, I'm getting the fuck out of Denver. I have had enough, because not only with that dating thing, but being a realtor, I had so many people that would have you drive them around 10
just
times.
for fun, because they wanted to see houses.
Or they'd be like, oh, well, we're not ready yet. They would do that shit, or they just wanted to look. Or the other thing that they would do is, they would have you they would have you show them houses, and then they would go to a new development that was being built, and they would sign on there, of which you were fucked if you didn't have a buyer's agreement.
So
signed.
So no commission.
So no commission. So the guy sitting in the model home, he got his commission. So that wasn't happening before, and that's when our broker was like, yeah, you got to get these buyer agreements signed, because there was a big building boom there. So these people are doing this now. You got to get a buyer's agreement signed right away. And after I had a few people that fucked me over by just wanted I was a what do you call it? Remax Uber driver.
Oh, basically giving them tours of these fancy houses.
Right. And then this guy, and I'm like, I am so fucking sick of this place and getting scammed and I want to go home. Because my ex-husband had already moved back to the East Coast, and he would come like once a month to see the kids, and he'd get drunk and they'd come home like in 2 hours after he had them. So good times. So after all this, I'm like, I got to get the fuck out. That's what I did.
Zoom fixed that one, didn't they? Oh, gosh, how funny.
Was that terrible? Yeah,
No.
So I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. So that's what I did.
And that's what I did. And the rest is history.
And the rest is... So either of you guys ever get scammed?
Did you get scammed? What about Kelly? Did she scam you?
No.
I don't think I ever really got scammed. I was on Match for a while, but then you just start seeing, you go through profiles and you're like, wait a second, you're Scott on Match, but when I saw you wherever else you were, that wasn't your name and it wasn't your age, and it was like, okay.
Right.
Because don't you think people are just trolling either for compliments
or
for... Yeah. They're just trolling. They're like sticking some bait out
that,
there and seeing what...
It's the old catch and release.
Yeah, right.
And
then you see the same people over and over, and you're like, oh my God. I think I even sent some messages like ignore this person, because this is not at all who this person thinks they are. And I never really met people, though. You would just I sincerely, really? I was divorced and thought I want to meet somebody nice, and I thought, oh, how bad could it be? To go on a dating site.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. Nobody told the truth. Yeah. Nobody was, and I was like, this is
not
just
the right question to ask.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
How bad could it be?
Yeah, how
what
bad
could
it be?
Wrong?
Right, yeah.
Because you're thinking there's got to be other people out there that actually want a sincere relationship and really, but it is not the way. It's not the case at all.
Right. But like I said, I had people that I had met. Oh shit, I just got reminded of another. Yeah, I did go dating here and I did have somebody who was in a situation that they didn't tell me about. But anyway, so yeah, then the other thing is, like, I was in a relationship. So the last time was 2015. I started dating John, and before that, I was in another relationship with that guy.
The other one.
The other one.
The retriever.
For 6.5. Yeah, the retriever. And so when I went on, after I got done with him and before I started dating the other one, I got on and there were still guys with the same picture that were on there from 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Still trolling,
Yeah. But they were the kind that a couple of them I ended up meeting in real life by accident because, Rochester.
Yeah, it's little. Yeah.
People, like somebody would come up to, as a matter of fact, that's how I met Tony. He came up to me at Divorce Fields and was like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, he said, I used to have my headline. You had a headline, and mine was, I have the body of a 25-year-old. It's wrapped in a blanket in the trunk of my car.
So he recognized you? Did he recognize you?
He recognized me and walked up to me and said, hey, don't you have a body of a 25-year-old in the trunk of your car? And I was like,
that's funny.
I
think that's a pretty good line, though. That's a pretty good pickup line. If you remember who you were,
Yeah,
and he used
and
that,
then I had a couple other guys do that, and
because you're recognizable because you're striking and redheaded.
Stop! It's the red hair.
No,
that's,
but you're Madge Madigan, so you are striking. Everybody knows who you are.
Thank you. So no, it was it's the red hair. Everybody, once you meet me, you see me again, you're like, oh, the redhead. Whereas
I remember the night I met you. You were Lucille Ball. You were dressed. Yes. Yeah.
Was it Halloween? I thought it was before that. I thought me and TJ were just sitting at the bar.
We had met a couple times, but that was when I was like, "Oh, look at her,
Anastasia Beaverhausen."
Yes, and she had.
That's when we became best friends.
Yep, that's it.
Did we just become best friends? Yes. So anyway, Chris and I became besties, and then. Let's see what happened.
And we lived happily ever.
What the fuck? Where did we learn? Yeah, I know. So some of these guys I would see and they're like, oh, aren't you whatever? And I'm like, and they were a total dick and they looked nothing like their picture. And then they said to me, and now I know why their profile was all like, if you're not into a real thing, then don't bother. I don't play games. I don't
Right.
being all that passive aggressive stuff when you're still on there because you're an asshole and you're not good looking. But it's all the women's fault. So danger.
Stranger danger.
Anyway, that's my whole story and I'm sticking to it.
And you're sticking to it.
So if anybody has any catfish stories or online dating horror stories, be sure to put them in the comments. We need to hear.
And then we need to go over some of those stories.
Then we need to go over some of the stories or have you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And explain because I bet there are stories that would curl your toes.
Oh my God. Exactly.
and your red curly hair.
Exactly. So on that note, don't forget to subscribe while you're here. I'm going to say that real quick. So subscribe to Madge Unmuted. You guys got any parting notes?
What do you got?
Nope.
Fitz?
Notes. Let's see.
Parting glances, parting glass.
Stay away
as
from
the Irish
Yahoo
song goes.
Personals.
Yeah, stay away from the Quest line.
And, that was
from
a new
1996.
one.
Don't do that one.
Please put
on the request line.
Yes, right. That's all I have thinking in my head too.
I spent
no parking on the dance
too
floor.
much money. Way too much money on that.
On all those
Did you
points.
spend as much as? Did you spend as much as you did on Trixabelle and the Peep Show on Times Square?
That was
like our other
else.
episode.
That was not me.
No, you remember that from the last episode?
Yes.
Jesus Christ!
My
Come
gosh.
on. All right, gang.
Show
I
us your
can't
shell,
wait to
quick.
see you all again.
Your shoulders on fire.
It's this way.
There it is.
Here.
There.
Jesus, on a half shell.
See the one.
That's awesome.
I had that one, but except mine didn't have a Jesus in it.
Oh, it was an atheist.
Maybe the Jesus fell out. I don't know.
I'm not gonna. No,
move don't disturb it.
Try it.
But
don't try it.
Everything. Sorry, Jesus. The shit I find in thrift stores. Oh, that's where he came from too.
Oh, he's quite striking.
We'll talk about him next time.
Yeah, that'd be
I
fun.
found him in he's like a he's a bourbon decanter.
Bottle?
Yeah, it's a bourbon decanter, and he's a oil rigger guy. Because in I don't know if you northern Pennsylvania, that's a lot of oil fields, like Oil City, and apparently he was from something or other. So anyway.
Rigor
mortis. I don't know what's going to happen on our next episode, but I'm sure it'll be great.
It'll be the best. So you're not cranky anymore, right? We fixed it?
I'm not. I'm not. And now I'm going to, thanks. Now I'm going to go get a cocktail. I'll fix it even more.
There's always time for it.
Oh, by the way, I didn't even tell you I had a great Thanksgiving with my kids. So we can talk about that next time. So in 2 weeks. Two and two.
And Chuck Woolery died this week.
He died. But he turned into a right-wing nut job.
Oh, jeez, yes.
Who did?
Oh, not that that's...
Chuck Woolery. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, and that does take away from it being sad that he died. So anyway, bye, Chuck. So...
he found a love connection with Jesus.
He sure did.
Yeah.
So anyway, Chris, thanks so much for joining me again. I appreciate it. Fitz, as always, thank you so much.
My love,
you're the best.
I love you.
And love you all. And for me, Madge Madigan, I hope you join us next time on Madge Unmuted. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.